What is good, people? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to give a reaction to the new viral sensation boxing game that is the talk of the town in the boxing community. Made by one independent developer, and the name of the game is Taylor the Tape. Amassing in less than a week 5k views on Crooks the Great's channel, 5.6k views on Boxing Fanatico's channel, and 2k views on their own channel. The hype for this game is sky high. Also, make sure you stay to the end because the developer was kind enough to grant me an interview with him where he gives excellent insight into his game development history, his vision for the game's current and future mechanics, and the time frame. And I know you're not going to want to miss that. Let's jump right into it. Right at the beginning, you can see there's a referee in the ring. SCI, please tell me, what is your excuse? Clean combo there. Nice jabs. Oh, big combination. Cut his eye, so we know there's going to be blood damage. Wait. Let me just wheel that up for you guys. Did you guys see that? Look, he's blocking, and then the guy's uppercut goes straight through the middle of the guard. If that's what we can expect from this game, that's something I'm all for, because I can't stand bulletproof blocks, and there does seem to be a block meter here, so we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, this is definitely an inside fighting game for people that love to try and knock people out. I love that thing that happens there where it's like a Mortal Kombat X-ray. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving how these combinations are flowing together. And I really like that big lead hand hook. It reminds me of like the Carl Froch hook or the southpaw hook in Undisputed. He just got chin checked to the maximum. Oh my god. Yo, that slow motion thing is awesome. It makes every single shot look so impactful. Oh my god, that was so clean. Can we just take a second to appreciate that? Look at this. Combination into the roll, slip. Oh my god, that should have had him sleeping. That was so clean. Yeah, my first gripe with the game, it seems like the amount of damage you can take before getting dropped or rocked is way too high. You've got people getting blasted. He just got blasted with how many counter shots and he never went down. Like, he should be dead. Oh, that body combo was nice. Oh, that's brutal. Look how crazy that looked. Each counter goes into slow-mo, makes it so cinematic. That looked so brutal. Bang, bang, bang. Oh my gosh, that X-ray thing is so awesome. See, that right there is what I mean by damage being too low. That's what has the game looking like Rock'em Sock'em Robots at some point. Yeah, the footwork as well could do with a bit of work. Seems like very old school glidey style. Oh, did you see that? You may have missed it because it was so subtle. I'll wheel it up. Look at the slip. Oh, that is so clean. So it's not like super over exaggerated and he just slips enough to be off center. Steel City, take note. This is how it's done. Look, slip. Oh my gosh, not this over exaggerated bend to the side like happens on Undisputed. That was so clean. When they're trading, it doesn't even look bad. It looks good. It's just they're getting hit with way too many punches that makes it look like it's Rock'em Sock'em Robot. Oh, that combination was so clean. And there's a roll. And there's another roll. Okay, Steel City, I'm going to stop you here. Take a look at these rolls. Look how they've been animated. Look how subtle they are. They're not over the top exaggerated like you've been watching Ippo. This is how it's supposed to be, man. Big shots there, counters. Oh, he's rocked him. And dropped him. Oh my god. This looks so good. It looks so brutal. It looks so realistic when they get dropped. Now we get a little view of what the get-up game is like. I will say this. It's not a big deal, but people seem to mention it about Undisputed. Make it so your opponent gets up from the place they were dropped in the ring. People mention that in Undisputed all the time. A clean, never-ending combination there. And that nice free piece, that was beautiful. That uppercut was so clean. And then the slip, oh my gosh. And then the roll. Man, this is one of the best inside like brawling arcade style games I've ever seen. This is 100% on the level of Fight Night Champion. He's rolling, trying to survive. Chin check. Oh, he's hurt. He tried to shell up and got punched clean through his guard and dropped. This is exactly what I mean. This is exactly what we need in Undisputed. How realistic to boxing was that? Unlike Undisputed, where it's a bulletproof shield, so what you have to do is the 50-50 mix-up game. In that situation, he was rocked, he was on the ropes. Doesn't matter if he's shelling up, I'm just going to punch holes through his guard and drop him. That was so clean. Now we're going to take a look at the second clip he uploaded, but instead of watching the whole thing, I've just chopped it down to the best moments, the highlights I want you to see, and also the issues that I want to break down and hopefully improve. So here we have some beautiful displays of evasion that I want you guys to take a look at. Here he rolls under that shot, ducks under the next one for clean body counter. Here he rolls under the shot, clean counter again, and this is the best one. Check this out. Roll, slip, roll, counter. Oh my gosh, tell me that isn't clean. Tell me that doesn't look just like Canelo when he was slipping and rolling against Danny Jacobs.
Slip all these shots. The hardest thing to do.
Here we have some examples of outside fighting. As you see here, he's using the back step jab. There's some clean slips again. The commentary I'd have on this, I'd like to see improvements on the back step jab. It looks a little bit flat. I'd like it to be a little bit more snappier, more of a flicker jab, more of a snapping jab. I found this clip of what is much closer to what I would like the jab to look like as you're moving backwards. If you take away the fact that he's leaning back, his jab comes out in a snapping fashion and it's much longer. I think the perfect example of what a back step jab should look like is Muhammad Ali's jab on Undisputed, or the southpaw jab on Undisputed. And you should use those as a reference point. In this clip, it brings up the problems that I have with the movement and how it's so slow. See, in this situation, he can't get away from his opponent, so he's letting him tee off on his block because he can't move backwards quick enough, but he's got all that space behind him, and what you do in boxing is you would just use that space and you just back up into it. I think the closest game to your game in terms of movement style would be Fight Night Champion, so maybe you should try to replicate that. As you can see, when you drop your guard, you're able to create distance and you float around the ring pretty fast, able to get away from your opponent. When you start blocking, you get close, that's when you start to move slower. Then when you release the block button again, that's when you move fast. I think you should implement something like that into your game. I would also like to see you add to the game effective back step dash, and as you can see in this clip here, I'm able to create separation and distance just from the back steps alone. I'd like to see you add side steps like on Undisputed, where you can angle off to the side and counter them. Also, you need forward dashes like this clip here, so you can quickly move forwards and close the distance and do like a karate style blitz. But that is all just a stylistic choice and based on my preference. If you prefer this slow type of movement because you want to force engagement and you want this to be an inside fighting game, then I totally understand. Next, we have the weaving mechanics that you use in your game, and similar to Undisputed, I think you use like the wrong model type. It doesn't look natural to boxing. If you take a look at Fight Night Champion for a reference point, this is what good weaving mechanics look like. See how when he leans forward, he's not looking down at the floor, and when he leans back, it doesn't look like he's hula hooping. You can also fully rotate and it looks like he's rolling and slipping undershots. He goes into natural positions with his body. Another good reference you could use is Bloody Knuckles. If you look at this, his weaving mechanics are probably the best I've ever seen. They look so beautiful, they look so natural, they look so realistic to boxing. Look at the postures that he uses. These are all real to life boxing postures. It's not unnatural and awkward like Undisputed and like you currently have, where it looks like you're hula hooping and your body goes into stiff unnatural positions. If you make these changes to the weaving as well as the backdashing and the movement, look at all of the amazing sequences you can have with the counters and the fun you can have in your game, and look how beautiful you can make your gameplay look. Next, I want to talk about the graphics of the game. Now, obviously, I understand this is in alpha. The graphics right now and the visuals are just placeholders and haven't been worked on because you're focusing on gameplay mechanics rather than visuals. I would like to try see you get the models to the level of the referee. I think the referee in the ring actually looks really good. I think the quality of the referee, if you could get your fighter models to match that, would be very good. We're not all expecting you to get to like undisputed levels of AAA photorealism, but if you could get close to the referee, I think we'd all be extremely happy with that level of graphics. Now, the last thing I have to say is about how you can turn something that is a weakness into something that is a strength. Now, the biggest negative that you're going to have against your game is that most people like to play with real fighters. They like to play with licensed fighters, and obviously you're not going to have them in your game. You're not going to be able to afford them. But that is where your biggest weakness becomes your biggest strength, because like every other fighting game, what you should do is make parodies of iconic fighters and put them into the game. Tekken has done it with martial law, who is obviously Bruce Lee, Lei Wulong, who is Jackie Chan. Mortal Kombat has done it with Johnny Cage, who is Jean-Claude Van Damme. Street Fighter have done it with Balrog, who is Mike Tyson, Fei Long, who is Bruce Lee. You should do the exact same thing. Make a parody of Muhammad Ali, make it look like Ali, make it fight like Ali, but give him a totally different name. Same with Tyson Fury, same with Deontay Wilder. That way, the bonus of your game is that you can have every single fighter in the world in your game at one time. You won't have to worry about licenses. You won't have to worry about fees. That way, everybody will want to come to your game because we all know when we play Tekken and we pick martial law that we're picking Bruce Lee. That I think is a great idea and the best idea to get your game to stand out. Now let's get into the interview I had with the developer. I want to say thank you very much to the developer for taking the time to answer these questions and give us a better insight into the game's development, where he plans on taking the game, and his game development history. So let's get into it. Question number 1 I ask, could you share a bit about your background and experience in game development? He says, I work full-time as a software engineer with game development as a hobby. I have been doing it on and off for the last 6 years or so. I haven't released any games up until this point. I started off mainly on Unity and moved to Unreal a couple years ago. So I'm assuming by the answer, I actually forgot to ask, is this game on Unity or Unreal Engine? I'd assume from this answer that it's Unreal Engine. Question number 2, how large is your current development team and what roles are represented within it? Mostly it is just me working on it as a side project alongside my full-time job. There is one other guy who has helped me with a few sound effects. See what I mean, guys? Isn't this crazy? We've got Bloody Knuckles and we've got this game being made by one developer by himself, and he's able to implement mechanics that Undisputed can't and have the referee in the ring. It's like, Undisputed, you have no excuse. Question number 3, what originally inspired you to create a boxing game? I was initially inspired by the UFC games. I started creating a bare knuckles boxing game as a bit of a niche, but I threw on a pair of boxing gloves one day and it just had a better feel to it. So I continued in that direction. There will still be a bare knuckles mode on release though, so that's cool. Any guys that likes the bare knuckle aspect of the game, but he wants to go more in a realistic boxing direction. Question number 4, what is your overarching vision for this project, both creatively and technically? Creatively, I'm quite flexible on my vision. I'll see what people want when the beta is released. I'm quite open to it being a sandbox where players can tweak any aspects of balancing and also provide modding support. I'm not sure how to comment on the technical vision. So creatively, he's open to making the game that we all want him to make. As for what I meant when I was talking about technical vision, I was talking about, do you want the game to be simplistic, as in a casual can just pick up the controller and instantly be able to play? Do you want it to be a technical game with a skill gap where there's many button combinations and things to figure out? Question number 5, how do you view the current landscape of modern boxing games and where do you see your title fitting in among them? I think it's unfortunate that there aren't more of them. Undisputed is the big one, of course, and for the most part I'm a fan of it. I obviously can't compete with the visual element and the roster, but I can try address some of the criticisms people have about it and also hopefully offer more of a fleshed out career mode at least. So he's a fan of Undisputed, he's using that kind of as a reference point, and like we all want, this game is going to have the things that Undisputed are missing. Question number 6, are you aiming for a specific gameplay style, simulation, arcade or balance, simcade approach? I haven't consciously tried to commit towards any specific style at the moment. I have just built what I believe feels nice to play, which I think has turned out somewhere in the middle, although quite a few have said it's arcade. I guess with it starting as a bare knuckle game, it has more of a bias towards violence. A few have commented on the excessive amounts of blood on the fighters' faces. This actually comes from a very old system that needs reworking from when it was a bare knuckle boxing game. Okay, so yeah, that's something I wanted to mention on this game. When you get the slightest cut on this game, it pours excessively like you've been in a barbed wire wrestling fight. That's unrealistic. I think you should have the blood in stages, like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and when you get to stage 3, that's when the blood starts pouring. Question number 7. How long has the game been in development so far? Tale of the Tape has been in development since March 2024. So it's been in development a little bit over a year, and look how much is done so far. Question number 8. What is your projected development timeline, and when might players expect access to a playable demo or early build? I'm aiming for a demo/beta towards the back end of 2026. That could vary massively in either direction though. So that goes to show you how much time it takes to do development. His game looks so good so far, but it's just him by himself, and it won't be ready for a whole nother year for a demo. Question number 9. Are the current visuals representative of the final artistic direction, or do you anticipate stylistic changes as development progresses? The current visuals are in no way set in stone in terms of art direction. I generally just try and aim for realism, but because I'm not particularly good artist with limited time, and I have to be mindful of performance which gives off a stylized look that is no way intentional, the animations are constantly evolving also. So we addressed the issue that I mentioned previously where I talked about I'd like the graphics to be as good as what the referee is. If you can get them to look at the level of the referee, I'm sure we'll all be happy like I said before. Now we're going to move on to the questions I had about the gameplay. Question number 1. Are there plans to implement a vulnerability system to emphasize realism and strategy? It currently has a limited vulnerability system in place where you will take more damage if you get hit at a certain point in the animation. I do plan on implementing a system where punches cause more or less damage depending on the relative velocity of the target when it lands. So if you're rolling away, stepping back, or partially dodge a punch, it will cause less damage, or if you walk into a punch or slip into a hook or something, it will cause more damage. That sounds so awesome. That's what we want from Undisputed. We want dynamic damage, dynamic vulnerability. If I'm slipping into a hook, it should cause more damage. If I duck down into an uppercut, it should cause more damage. If I'm slipping and rolling and the shots are just grazing, it should cause less damage, man. This is something greatly needed in Undisputed, and this is nothing but a positive for your game. Question number 2. Will the game feature directional punches such as check hooks or step back jabs? Yes, it currently has already forward, stationary, left and back jabs, plus stationary and lunging straights. I plan to have animations in all directions for jabs and hooks. Yes, this is something that I want in the game. At the moment, it looks like a very good inside fighting, brawling game, but what I'd like to see now implemented is more techniques and more nuances of boxing that allow me to outside fight and pick apart my opponent. Backstep jabs for creating range, check hooks for angling off, stuff like that. Question number 3. We've noticed that blocking appears to have a health bar, yet certain strikes will break through the guard. Could you elaborate on how the blocking system functions? A while ago, I disabled the collision between the arms of the boxers because it helped with punch tracking. I've seen the feedback regarding visual feedback of blocking and have enabled the collision again, which will be visible in my next video. That is something I desperately wanted to ask because the biggest problem Undisputed right now is the block shield that nothing can get through. And I saw in your video, and I actually liked in your video, that when he was rocked and he was trying to block, punches were getting through the guard. I saw an uppercut get through the guard when it was blocking. You need to keep it more like this. People don't like a bulletproof block on a boxing game. It takes away the aspect of skill and actual boxing from the game. Question number 4. Do you intend to include alternative defensive styles such as the Philly shell, cross guard or long guard? Yes, along with other stances like hands low stance. I need to think of a smarter way to implement it with the existing animations rather than creating a whole new locomotion set for each stance/guard because it would be too difficult to maintain. So that's awesome. That gives us insight into how his game is going to evolve. There's going to be fighters with different stances, different hand positions, different guards, just like real boxing. And then we also get insight into how difficult it is to do these things. It's one man by himself, and rather than create a whole new set of things, he has to try and be clever and find new ways to implement this. Question number 5. Will the footwork system further expand, perhaps incorporating a similar mechanic to Undisputed's loose footwork? As of right now, there isn't really a footwork system in place. I do like the weighted feel of fighters in Undisputed, in that they can't just immediately change directions. The only thing preventing me from doing something similar is the current animation set doesn't support it, which I plan to build upon in the near future. Yeah, that goes to one of my criticisms I had for the game. I do think the movement in the game needs improving. I think you need to be able to move faster on the outside so you can create separation. I did say that Fight Night Champion would be a great reference point for this game, and he already said he's working on it, so can't wait to see what that turns out like. Question number 6. Do you plan to include a power modifier system for precision and timing based damage? Yes, there are currently power variations on hooks and I plan to implement them on all punches. Yeah, I'd like to see a power straight, so like on Fight Night Champion you can do a jab into a power straight, and like on Undisputed. I think that will add more variation in the type of punches you look to do damage in. Question number 7. As stamina decreases, will strikes lose speed and power, and will players become more vulnerable to damage as fatigue sets in? Yes, this is currently already in place. It is a very hard thing to balance though. When I release the beta, I'm going to include a bunch of sliders so players can control things like this. Yeah, this is a nuance that I think needs to be in all boxing games. This is something that Fight Night Champion does right. This is something that Undisputed gets horribly wrong. As your fighter gets more tired, he becomes slower, he becomes weaker, he becomes more vulnerable, to the point where he eventually becomes a sitting duck. This is something that needs to be in all modern day boxing games. Question number 8. Do you have plans to add an online multiplayer mode? No, at this moment in time, it is not feasible. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing that you won't be able to go online and play against random people, but it is 2025. We all have Parsec, so you can just get your friend to come and play on your computer. And the last question I have is question number 9. Finally, will there be a creation mode allowing players to design and customize their own boxer? Yes, there is already a system in place. The fighters you see in the video were made using it. I plan to add more hairstyles, body types, tattoos, equipment options, and face/body sliders. Yeah, this seems to be a big thing. Not so much for me. I'm not really interested in using created fighters like that. I like more real fighters, but people love this side of thing. Like in Fight Night Champion with OWC, people would go crazy for it. People like to do career modes with created boxers, so I think this is a big thing that you need in your game, so I'm glad it's there. But like I said previously, I think the thing that will take your game to the next level is if you create parodies of already existing fighters and then you fill your whole roster with almost every iconic fighter that boxing fans would want in the game. So that right there brings us to the end of the interview and the end of the video. Again, I want to say a huge thank you to the developer for taking the time to answer these questions, but I want to know what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comments section. Do you agree with the improvements I have for the game? What improvements would you like to see added to the game? Also, what questions would you like me to ask for next time? Let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content I got coming your way, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.